What's the best loophole you've discovered? Back in 1990, I was a sales manager at a car dealership and was one of the winners of a sales contest for sales managers of all the dealers of that make in the Boston district. The bar was pretty low to win this contest and there was no big payoff for winning because I guess they just wanted to show some recognition and get the sales managers together to socialize, build communication, and cooperation between the dealerships which were located all over New England. So we got to spend one night in a nice hotel in Boston, had a nice meal, and everyone received some recognition during the after-dinner ceremonies. But then came the after-dinner fun. They gave us about 2 hours for a Vegas night. Tables were set up just like in a casino, blackjack tables, roulette tables, and one craps table. The rules were they gave each of us $200 in chips that we could use to make bets. Whatever amount of chips that we had left at the end would be cashed in for real money. Now, in the few years previous to that night, I had been to Las Vegas and Atlantic City a few times and found that craps was my favorite game. I had played it enough and studied it enough that I was very familiar with the odds for every bet on the table and knew how to play the game. So as soon as I got my $200, I headed for the craps table. Surprisingly, I was the only one who went to the craps table. And then, even more surprisingly, the person who was in charge of the tables came over and said to me and the dealers, "Just to make things simpler, we'll pay out 2-to-1 on all the numbers bets." I don't know why he said that. Maybe the dealers were inexperienced and he was trying to make it easier for them so they wouldn't have to try to figure out the different odds for the different numbers. Or maybe he figured that there was only one player at the table so not much damage could be done. But as soon as he said that, I knew what he meant, and bells went off in my head. I knew immediately what I was going to do. A numbers bet is where you put a bet on one of the numbers, 4 through 10. You are betting that when the dice are rolled, they are going to add up to the number you bet on before they total 7. If the dice total 7, you lose. Different numbers normally pay different odds. For instance, the 6 and the 8 have the best odds of coming up, but they normally pay the lowest odds because of that. Normally if you make a $6 bet on the 6 or 8, and you win, you would win $7. What happened here was they changed the payout on that very same bet to $12, which drastically changed the odds in my favor. All I had to do was make a pass line bet, roll the dice, then keep betting on the 6 and 8. The odds were in my favor. What I didn't do was say anything out loud. I didn't want anyone rethinking the decision to change the odds. So I started winning right away. But it didn't look like much at first because I started with just $200. But as the money started coming in, I slowly raised my bets and the money started coming in faster. After a while, I was still the only player on the table when one of the other sales managers walked up and stood next to me at the table. I had previously talked to this guy a few times on the phone at work but didn't really know him other than that. And then he decided to be chatty. He started asking questions like, "Do you know how to play this game?" "I don't know anything about it." "Can you teach me how to play?" Well, the last thing I needed right then was someone disturbing my concentration on the game. I knew that I only had a limited amount of time to take advantage of this unexpected loophole. So I turned to him and said, "Listen, put your chips right up here and do exactly what I tell you to do. Don't ask any questions. Just do it. I'll explain it all to you later." He was kind of taken aback at that and I could see the confusion on his face while he was contemplating what I had just said. But then he said, "Okay." So I continued doing what I had been doing and started telling him where to place his bets, how much, how many chips, to bet, and what to say to the dealer when he placed a bet. He caught on pretty quick and followed my instructions very well, so I wasn't slowed down too much, and he started getting more excited when he saw the money starting to roll in. When the time was up, almost all of the players who played the other games were broken. They had lost their seed money. Very few players had any money left at all. We were the big winners. I won just over $3,000 and my new best friend won just over $1,500. Needless to say, he was ecstatic. The funniest part was when other sales managers that he knew came over and asked him how he did it. His answer was, "I don't know. All I did was do what he told me to do." It was a fun night.